Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the KTL Solutions webinar, What You May Not Know About Your GP System, to be presented by Barry Crowell, our Senior Business Consultant and Business Intelligence Specialist. I'm Kathy Mulcahy, the Senior Business Development Executive, and I'd like to review the agenda with you and also a little bit about asking questions. We will be covering an overview of what's new from GP 2013 to GP 2015 Release 2, including both the financial module and the distributions module, and Barry will also be giving a demonstration of these capabilities. I'd like to mention that throughout this presentation, you may feel free to submit questions to our chat room, and we will handle those towards the end of the presentation. And thank you all for joining us. It looks like a few more have done so, and I'd like to turn it over to Barry Crowell to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm just going to briefly go through the financial module, distributions module. At the end of the demo, on the questions page, there'll be two links, and after this is all done, everybody that's registered will get a slide deck and the recording of this webinar for future reference for additional information for the modules that are new to your system that we may not be covering today. So in the financial module, what we're really looking at is under the SP2 is the new additions that happened in GP 2013. R2 is the GP 2013 and then 2015 information. So you can see that GP and Microsoft has been really progressive in adding additional features around the account modifier, vendor modifier, customer modifier, workflows, which are now in version 2.0. They started integrating a lot more of Excel functionality, as you can see in the copy and paste function fit into the GL, because there was a high demand for that and not always having to set up your using Integration Manager to get data into your system. They're moving away from the OEL notes functionality, where you put a PDF document or a Word document or something, attached it to your system. It was saved out into a network drive, and you had the possibility then of that drive going down, someone deleting the information there, and then the lost reference was not attainable anymore into your system. Well, now the OEL notes is actually got that once you attach the document into GP, that document actually is going to be saved into your database. There'll be integrity in far as security of who can delete it and with a password, and even if they do delete it, there's still a reference to the document as a deleted document. They've been expanding greatly on the workflow process, and we'll go through that in the demo. Also, there's been concern with, and this is not in the financial module, but one of the things that some people have expressed concern out on the forums is the ability to mask employee Social Security numbers if you use the payroll and HR module, and that has been implemented in GP 2015 R2. So in the distributions module, we've seen a great enhancement on suggested items processing through sales order, the purchase requisition process going away from the business portal and into GP, and a requisitions workflow, purchase order workflow, prepayment addition, and then a lot more reporting on SSRS, where encumbrance, then you got historical inventory, and we'll look over the SSRS capabilities and Excel reports during the demo, entering in your project time app, and then also the ability to edit historical emails on documents, and payment enhancements and invoicing through the web client. So briefly, these are some of the things that I'm going to touch in, and more of the most recent abilities from GP 2015. Identity management, and that's basically having the ability, if you're deploying the web client and people are logging in through the web client, to use a single sign-on into the web client, and you're just basically taking their SQL login that GP uses and linking it to their Active Directory login. So now they only have to remember one password. They're using their Active Directory login. The ability then to, on the General Ledger, on the inquiry screen, is now it combines both historical and open information, and we'll look at that. We'll look at document attach capabilities, the new all-in-one document viewer for payables, and then some of the workflows and where those are at, and then a little known or little used capability within GP that's been around since 2010, I believe, maybe even before that, but business alerts and how to set those up, and some of the ones that are there by default, you just need to enable them. And then the refreshable Excel reports and SSRS. So document attach. To set it up, it's under Tools, Setup, Company, and then Document Attach Setup. So when you first get in, everything would be disabled from this standpoint, and you haven't set anything up. The basic is you want to allow documents to be attached, assign a defaulted directory where the documents would be located before they're attached, and then delete them afterwards. You can assign a maximum size of those documents. You can allow them to be deleted with a password. And the benefit, along with the workflows, is if you activate the benefit from a document attached perspective is that if you activate the bottom screens here, allow attachments to go through the workflow, now when you do your workflows, the attachments will be there for that document attached perspective. And the workflows that it goes through are the purchasing batches, the purchase orders, purchase requisitions, vendor approval, and the payable transaction approval. That is a nice way to see all the documents when you're trying to get an approval process going through the system. So one of the neat things that GP has introduced with 2015 R2 is the all-in-one view. And that's really in the purchasing module. And what we're looking at here is the inquiry, and it's a new link called all-in-one. And what that does is that, say someone calls in to your AP clerk to find out where their check is or where the PO process is, they can quickly bring up the vendor and look at, what purchase orders, receipts, invoices, or payments have been processed, quickly clicking on one can filter down the rest of the columns to the unrelated, so that unrelated documents are not there. If you need additional detail on the documents, the down caret here gives you additional details on the, whether it's in the workflow, and as you can see here, I don't have workflow activated, but other information on this particular purchase order. The screen is customizable a little bit from an options perspective up here. If I don't use purchase orders at my organization, I can turn off purchase orders, and then I only have receipts, invoices, and payments. If I do returns, I can add returns to the system. So that's one of the areas that you can get to the all-in one view. You can also get to them through the vendor maintenance card. So if I click up the vendor maintenance, the all-in-one view is up here on the screen, and now it's automatically filtered for that vendor. So you can also do it through purchase order processing, document inquiry, table transaction inquiry by vendor, by document, and the purchase order. And you can also see it in your navigation list over here on the left-hand side. So they've added that capability to 2015 R2, which is nice from that perspective. So one of the big things that they've been pushing and getting away from the business portal and isn't available anymore, but is added workflows into DP, and that is down here under Tools, Setup, Company, and then Workflows. So you have a bunch of capabilities for workflows now. From a financial perspective, you have the general ledger batch approval. Sales, you have the receivables batch approval. Purchasing, you have batch approval, transaction approval, purchase orders, purchase requisitions, and vendor approval into the system. In payroll, you have the ability to do the employee profile, skills, direct deposit, time card, and W-4. And then project, you have the expense report approval and timesheet. And then administration is the design view. Designer, the new Smart List designer, you can put approval process into publishing new views. So simple setup of the workflow is really just right-clicking on the workflow, naming it, doing your process. Now, there's a lot of email links out there on setting up workflow, and there's some documentation from Microsoft on how to do it. It gets rather complicated, so we're not going to go through the step process here, but it's quite capable, and I like the functionality that it's provided within the system, and obviously getting away from the need to do business portal. One of the little known or lesser used functionalities that I feel in GP is business alert. So under Tools, Setup, System is what's called Business Alert. And you can create a new business alert, or there's actually existing ones that come pre-installed when you vendors that are past due. I can pick the database. I can describe my alert and give a description, an ID and a description. I can basically look at any table within the series. In this case, they've selected both the vendor master and the transaction open file where the invoices reside in. And then they've just basically provided some custom logic joining the tables. And it's just easy putting a join reference into the table. And then the alert formula. What do you need it to alert you on? In this case, it's the document date here has been added. And then you have the ability to, one, notify by user ID, which would be a GP user ID, or you can also set up email functionality to email people that may not be a GP user or may not log into GP every day. So that gives you a lot of capabilities of managing the system without having to actually run reports and look at the system on a daily basis. So one of the other things that we were going to talk about was SSRS. And that's a capability that is with your Microsoft SQL license that comes with GP. But what it does is you have pre-canned reports within GP that you can deploy through the setup system, reporting tool setup. So both reporting services and Excel reports can be deployed through here. But the reports are a website from SSRS perspective that gives you capabilities of allowing somebody to access financial information through your system without having to go into GP. The next thing that I like about the capabilities of SSRS is actually, from an end user perspective, is the trial balance detail. What I found a lot before the capabilities of SSRS is when my auditors would come in, I would have to export a detailed trial balance from GP into a CSV file, which had all the headers and footers records in there, and then I'd spend, however long, half an hour, cleaning it up so that all the header and footer records were out of there. This export capabilities through here already does that functionality for you once you've printed the report and export it to Excel. So it's a lot nicer, a lot faster, a lot cleaner from a formatting perspective than the export to CSV. And what you're left with when you generate the report. So you got the same options that you have inside of GP, but it's a lot cleaner, and I can export it right to Excel if I want to, or CSV. And when I do export it, like I said, the headers and footer records for each page break aren't there, and I'm not left with trying to clean them up at the end of the export, which is a huge time saver from my perspective if I had the capabilities when I was an end user with GP. So one of the other things that GP has done is refreshable Excel reports. So a lot of the data that you have in SmartList that you would then export to GP and then have to do custom formatting on every time you wanted the report. Or the capabilities are also in these Excel reports, and they're a direct connection to GP, so every time you open a report, the data is refreshed, which is nice in the fact that I can do my own custom formatting on the report also. I don't have to reformat it every time. Another great thing that Microsoft has done is, with the advent of dashboards and everybody wanting to see dashboards, is they pre-installed dashboards in 2015 and above for financial, inventory, purchasing, and sales. So if I look at one of those dashboards, and I'm just going to look at the financial one, I can see the dashboard that they've built for me, and it gives me basically my net sales, my cost of goods sold, profit, just at a glance on whatever time period I select. So right now I have this what's called a slicer on the first quarter of 2017. I can easily move the slicer to the first and second quarter. It dynamically changes my indicators over here, my operating expenses, my other chart, and it also changes, and I can also see where my checkbook is, what my financial ratios are, capabilities of the system. So that's a nice, easy dashboard that people like to see. You get a lot more of upper management liking to see those types of things. And from there, the capabilities that Microsoft has added into it, so the first three are dynamic, and then the last two tables down here are, the point in time right now. Where's my checkbook at? That's really some of the capabilities that I was going to demo today from the GP aspect. I just want to point out that there's a lot of additional references out there from a 2015 R2 perspective. There's two websites that I frequently go to on the community to look at the blog series, and they do both video and short write-up on each one of the additional features, and then the community GP team blog from Microsoft that discusses any relevant issues right now in their capabilities.
We invite you to ask any questions. You may submit your questions via our chat window, and we certainly have a question. The first is, what do you recommend for upgrade timing?
So, from an upgrade timing perspective, I think it all relies on where you're at, from what version you're on, what the path is going to be, and what ISVs or customizations that you have. You have to really look at that perspective, and I can't stress this enough. If you're going to do an upgrade, do a test upgrade so that you know what's going to break in your system. You can have the fixes already deployed or figured out before you do that. And from that perspective, if you're taking the cautionary approach, and if you're coming from a GP, say 2010, you're probably going to have to put on a service pack before you can directly upgrade to 2015 R2. So, and you want to do user end testing to make sure everything's fixed. I would say it's going to take at least a good month or two to get the whole process worked out until you can go live.
Great, thank you, Barry. Our next question is, what is your experience with the GP web client setup?
Well, what I see from an experience standpoint is I see a lot of interest in it. I see especially with people that may have remote workers. So their biggest thing is not only putting it on their desktop when they're in the office, but when they're remote, they can access it from anywhere, no matter where they're from. They may have multinational employees, and then just being able to get away from deploying in a Citrix environment. People are looking at. I think the biggest hindrance to deploying the web client is the amount of customizations people may have already in their system, and that customization includes VBA code. VBA code is not compatible with the web client, so that your customization would need to be converted into a .NET application to get that custom logic that you have in your web client.
Thank you, Barry. Good questions. And let's see, we have another question. Will the workflow and document save features make products like paper save obsolete?
I don't think they'll make the document functionality of paper save obsolete, at least not at this point. I see, the paper save the workflows are a lot more advanced. The ability to add stuff into the system and scan the document for certain locations where it automatically associates that document to the vendor by just OCRing it. Those capabilities of paper save are not in the functionality of GP right now. You basically need to have a scanner at your desk and attach it to that vendor as you initiate the workflow, where you wouldn't need to really do that from a paper save perspective.
Thank you. And we see that we have another question, and this is, what if any improvements have been made to forecasting and budgeting in Management Reporter? Are most of your clients using these modules, or are they using a third-party product?
What I see from a forecasting and budgeting perspective is there's no changes in Forecaster. They have not made any changes. They have not said anything as what the plans are to forecast or whether it's going away or not. With that said, you still have the capabilities of Forecaster. Management Reporter, they're adding additional features around the web view, being able by default to see the headers and footers and some of that, the capabilities there and the security there. And they're moving more towards, rather than what's called the legacy connection, more of a data mart, so that your reporting is more faster and capable. With that being said, we see a lot of interest from a number of our clients that don't like some of the limitations of Management Reporter that they didn't have in FRX, and they're really looking at, say, a BI360 from Solver, which the reporting capabilities are baked in. It's an add-in into Excel. With that, since it's an add-in to Excel, and you get the design capabilities there, you still have the full functionalities of Excel, and that means you can do conditional formatting on rows. So if there's a negative or a positive, you can show that. You can show the basic gist of the stoplight, say, if you wanted to do KPIs. A lot of that functionality in Excel, and accounting loves Excel. They've been using it for years, so that it is something that they're very used to.
Thank you, Barry. And let's see if we have any additional questions. And again, please submit them through our chat window, and we'll hold one moment here to see if there are additional ones. Without seeing additional questions,